guys, welcome back to another episode of Young Adult Problems. So I've just been scrolling through TikTok a lot recently, and I've noticed this sort of trend slash aesthetic slash lifestyle that's become increasingly popular, especially over the past few months. And that trend that I'm really starting to see everywhere is all about being that girl. Everywhere I look on social media, being that girl is kind of like, it's kind of set the standard of what it's like to be living this good, aesthetic, clean, organized, successful life where you're really engaging in self-care and self-love and all of that. So I've seen a lot of that on social media, and I kind of wanted to talk about it today because it's just been everywhere, and especially now that it's 2023, a lot of people are getting into trying to be that girl. So first off, what does it mean to be that girl? I know we always see it online, and it's usually a visual representation that really kind of shows us what it means to be that girl. But by definition, using words, what does it mean to be that girl? The best definition that I could find is becoming the best version of yourself. It's being productive, getting your life together. It's all about self-care and self-love and doing something with your life so that you can be the best version of yourself. And I really like that. I really like that in this day and age, we are prioritizing ourselves and we're prioritizing our health and our lives and what we want to do with our lives. I love that because 2023 should be all about being your best self. Like, I know for me, if you've listened to the previous podcast, I am a sad wreck in a lot of those. But this year, things are going to change because we're all going to be that girl and we're going to be our best selves. But the thing is, the definition of being that girl, becoming your best self, that's not totally accurately reflected on social media. Being that girl on social media, or at least when I see it all the time, there's a very particular way that being that girl is portrayed. It's very specific. 95% of the time consists of journaling, reading, waking up at 5 a.m., sleeping at 8 p.m., hot girl walks, money, success, working out, all of that. And it's almost all about the aesthetic. Being that girl is more about the aesthetic than really trying to become the best version of yourself. Because in reality, trying to become the best version of yourself can be done in so many different ways. It does not always look like waking up at 5 a.m. and journaling and reading and bath bombs and all of that, right? It doesn't always look like that. But social media is kind of portraying this idea that this is the standard of how life should be. And also, usually the people promoting this type of lifestyle are very pretty, they're very skinny, they embody the clean girl aesthetic, and then I feel like I need to look a certain way to be that girl. I'll feel like I need to have the slicked back hair, the Apple headphones, the accents of gold jewelry, but being that girl shouldn't look a certain way. I know for me, having that clean girl look is hard to attain because I just don't look like that. It just doesn't really fit me. First, I want to emphasize that there's nothing wrong with the typical that girl aesthetic that we all see. I love the aesthetic and I love the lifestyle, and I think the routine is super healthy and a great way for people to be living their lives. The girlies who have a dedicated routine to journaling and reading and making the nicest, healthiest looking meals ever, they're really taking care of themselves both physically and mentally. And seeing this type of lifestyle is super tempting because it looks like they're doing so well and really achieving their goals and doing what they want to do. But when it's glamorized in this sort of way all the time, the focus of being that girl shifts more towards a very specific aesthetic routine rather than focusing more on the mindset that it takes to become your best self. Does that make any sense? If you have the mindset to become your best self, regardless of what your routine looks like, because they can look different for everyone, And regardless of the aesthetic, you're embodying what it truly means to be that girl. This aesthetic routine that's promoted on social media isn't always realistic. First off, I feel like waking up at 5 a.m., going on your hot girl walk, and then taking a bath, making a healthy breakfast and all of that, that takes a lot of time. And so realistically, for me, I don't have time to wake up at 5 a.m. and then just journal for an hour. Like, I can't do that. And I also feel like that's just difficult in general for someone to achieve. Because if you're the average person, chances are that your life is probably going to revolve mostly around either school or work. You're busy preparing breakfast, getting ready, rushing out of the house, or doing whatever it is you need to do to actually go to work or go to school. You spend 8 hours a day doing that. So by the time that the 8 hours is over, you don't have enough time in your day to fully dedicate to self-care and that aesthetic type of lifestyle. Like, there's homework, there's house chores, there's everything else that you need to focus on that might be of higher priority than reading for an hour. Secondly, I don't think the social media version of being that girl is realistic because, as I said earlier, the routine and aesthetic is not representative of what being your best self looks like for everyone. Maybe you don't particularly enjoy journaling or reading. Maybe you like drawing or playing piano or making animations. Like, whatever it is, maybe you like that instead. And maybe that's a part of your process for becoming your best self, because those are things that you enjoy and those are things that stimulate your mind and those are skills you can practice. And so that routine that you see online isn't what everybody's going to partake in order to be that girl. So I kind of now want to talk about what it really means to be that girl. Being that girl is all about mindset and attitude. It's about having a strong mindset on your goals, discipline, and balance. Because if you go in with this strong mindset about your goals and discipline and balance, you can apply this type of mindset to any aspect in life and use it to become the best version of yourself in whatever you want to be. Whether it's waking up in the morning and exercising every day, or whether it's being successful in your career, or whether it's taking on a hobby and being successful in that, you can take this mindset, apply it to whatever you want, and that's how you become that girl. That's how you become the best version of yourself. You'll not only prove to yourself that you're capable of doing whatever you put your mind to, but you'll also prove to everyone else that you have the ability to do whatever it is that you want. Because a lot of people can't do that. It's just difficult to take on this mindset. And seeing the progress and seeing the results of what happens when you apply this type of mindset to anything you want to do, you'll feel like a brand new person. You'll feel like what it should feel like to be that girl because you're on top of it. And you're taking care of yourself in multiple ways, whether it be personal passions or just self-care or getting your life together or whatever it is. You set your mind to it, you do it. But that's a lot easier said than done. So I kind of just want to break down these 3 things that I think are really important. Number 1 are your goals. So goals are really important because you know who you want to be, you know what you want to achieve, and you know what kind of life it is that you want to live. And once you lay out your goals, you have in mind what the best version of yourself is. So now you have to take the steps to reach that goal and to become the best version of yourself. And this is where step 2 comes in. This is discipline. This is all about the productivity part of being that girl. You know, people who are that girl do things with their lives. They want to be productive. They want to get their life together because through productivity, you see results. But discipline is the hardest part. Most of the time, this is where everybody gives up. Once they have that goal in mind, for example, let's say you want to work out every day. It's, something that people will start and feel motivated with in the beginning. But what happens when you're 6 months down the line? This is where most people give up. And I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of giving up way too early just because I would lose motivation or I got lazy or distracted. Whatever it was, there were so many times that I had a goal in mind, I knew what I wanted, and then I gave up because life got in the way, or that was just an excuse that I used. So with discipline, one thing that's really hard is accountability. Because when you kind of set your mind to something, the only person that's holding you accountable and telling you to keep going and to keep working at it is you. And a lot of the times, it's hard to be accountable for yourself because you can get distracted with everything happening in life. Maybe you just don't want to do it and you end up laying in bed that day instead of working towards your goals. And it can be easy to fall off track. Once you stop holding yourself accountable, then you stop working towards your goals at all. You start to give up. And so one important thing about discipline is really learning how to hold yourself accountable. As I said, for me, I'm guilty of not doing this for so many years, but it came to a point where, when I was done with school, I was like, okay, if I'm going to continue to live life like this, where I don't hold myself accountable and I don't learn discipline, then I'm not going to be able to do anything that I've ever wanted to do in life. Am I going to be happy just doing that? Or am I going to regret it later on when I look back and I see that, oh, I gave up on my goals because I didn't hold myself accountable. I got distracted because I wanted to hang out with my friends all the time. And I got lazy and just wanted to watch Netflix. Like, if I looked back on myself and that's what I continued to do, I think I would be super disappointed that I never really took initiative in the things that made me happy and made me passionate, simply because I wasn't feeling motivated 100% of the time. And so after coming to that realization and going through the constant cycle of losing motivation after setting a few goals, I started to really learn how to discipline myself. And it seriously changed my outlook on so many things. For example, this podcast. I had started this podcast back in February of 2022. And after not even a month, I gave up because I was distracted with life. I took the lazy way out and I got nowhere with the podcast. And I think one reason that I gave up so easily was not only because I got distracted with life, but it was also because I hadn't seen any results with my podcast. And because of that, I lost motivation and I lost it really quickly. And so that just kind of led me to giving up. But fast forward to now, I had to really rethink what it was that I wanted to do in life. What would make me the best version of myself? And discipline was the first thing I needed to learn. So now I'm a little more than 2 months into the podcast, and in the past 2 months, I've worked consistently every single day on either recording the podcast, making social media content, posting on multiple different outlets, like just trying whatever I could to really put effort into something that I was passionate about, even if I didn't feel motivated every day. Because, sometimes I don't feel like creating social media content. I can't think of any ideas. Sometimes that happens and I just don't want to do anything. But even through times of discouragement or feeling unmotivated, I learned to stick with it, because in the long run, motivation shouldn't define whether I put in the hard work or not. It's the end goal that should really push you to be like, hey, this is where I want to be in the future. This is where I see myself. So even if I'm feeling discouraged, I'm still going to do it because I know where I want to be in the future. Motivation is a temporary thing, and I learned that the hard way. I learned that after many, many iterations of giving up. So that is my one piece of advice. Just discipline is crucial for becoming that girl and becoming who it is that you want to be. And once you learn discipline, things get a little bit easier actually, because you push yourself to do it. And then, once you get comfortable doing it every single day, it just becomes a part of your everyday habits. And once it's a habit, you're not actively thinking like, ugh, I have to do this again, because you naturally plan to just do it. Similar to like brushing or something. You just brush because you have to and you don't really think about it. Even though it's not something you necessarily always want to do, it's like brushing's a part of the lifestyle routine, so you just do it. And so similar to that, like incorporating daily activities that'll get you closer to your goal, that's how you learn discipline, and that's how you incorporate habits, and that's how you become that girl. Because you learn to have this strong enough mindset to eliminate distractions. It's good to have fun, but if you're having a little too much fun at times, you have that discipline to be like, hey, maybe I should take a step back now, work towards my goals, be that girl, do what it is that I want to do. And like I said, I totally have nothing against the that girl aesthetic. I just feel like the aesthetic is so much more emphasized than the real idea behind what it means to be that girl. And that's all about mindset. The other thing I want to talk about is balance. That was the third thing that I mentioned. I want to talk about balance because we all need time to take care of ourselves. Just anything to take time for yourself and finding that balance and that time to do so is very important because burnout is a real thing when it comes to discipline. You might be so disciplined that, you won't give yourself a break at times. Sometimes I find myself doing that with the podcast because maybe I had spent, days really grinding on podcast content and I'm feeling extremely tired, but I'm still pushing myself because I'm like, I have to do this. And through the process, I'm learning so much about making podcasts and what I can do to improve. I'm learning more about social media content and all of that, but it's a learning process. And oftentimes when learning processes are very tiring, that's when burnout happens. So in order to avoid burnout, balance is really important because you sort of learn how to deal with the time that you have. Time management is not always easy. I often get caught up in all of the work that I'm doing, and then it's like the end of the day and I'm like, oh wait, I need to sleep. But balance is really important because it leads to less burnout and you find that time to engage in self-care. You know when your body needs to relax, and then it can rejuvenate for the next time you really need to work at something. And then you can work hard on it with a clear mind and, fresh thoughts. So for me, that time for me is at night. I work my daytime job, I work on the podcast, and then at night I can relax. I can eat dinner. I take time to watch Netflix, which by the way, just finished Singles Inferno, and oh my gosh, my man, Jong-woo. No spoilers here, but good ending. Anyways, so I watch a little Netflix, and then sometimes I hop into bed, I'll watch some YouTube videos, and it's a time where I really don't need to think about being totally productive because I've sectioned out that time for another part of my day. And then finally, after all of this, after clearly defining your goals, after learning what it means to be disciplined, and after finding balance in life, then becoming that girl should be something you're proud of. It's something special because not everyone can pull through with this specific mindset. I think mindset is a lot more powerful and discipline is a lot more powerful because then you can do whatever it is you want to do. And I know I said that a billion times, but hopefully this is your motivation to do what it is that you're really passionate about and that you really care about and what'll make you the best version of yourself, and do whatever it is that you've always wanted to do, whether that's taking care of your own health or you have a passion that you've always wanted to pursue but you've never done it. This is my reminder for you to take on the that girl mindset. So let me know what you thought about the episode. Let me know what you think about the that girl trend. And if you made it this far, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week on another episode of Young Adult Problems. Bye!